What's up, Video Fort Nation? I'm Magic Bard, and for today we're going to be going through some Luma transition effects. Now, you've probably seen this in the Sam Kolder adventure vlogging videos that he does. Also, Matt Como uses these as well. They're really cool ways to transition from one clip to another. But first, I want to give a shout out to Ollie. Thanks for giving us some love on that last tutorial. Really appreciate it, man. And if you guys are new to Video Fort, hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell icon right next to it. So that way you'll be notified every time we send out a new awesome epic tutorial every single week. Alright guys, that's enough from me. Let's jump into the tutorial. So you have your clips, and what I'll do is I already created my in and out points for my clips, so let's drop that into a new composition. And what we'll do is, let's see, this is a 4K clip, so what I'm going to do is turn my composition into a 1920 by 1080 sequence, and then I'll drop my size to 50% so it fits. If you guys are shooting in 1920 by 1080, disregard that step I just did. So I have my shot, shot this on a tripod, and I just have my guy Leo, who is 4K visuals on Instagram, has a lot of really cool photos. Definitely check that out. Anyways, back to it. I've got my actor Leo, and he pretends to kind of like fall out of the door. So what we're going to do is, first things first, is we'll Luma Fade the windows out, and then we'll do the door last. So what I'm gonna do is, he kind of walks into it, and at about here I'm gonna split the clip, so Command Shift D to split it. So what we're gonna do here is create a mat around these window doors, and how we'll do that is by using a track mat. So go into Layer, New, Solid, and we'll make this a white solid. That's good for now. And let's turn off the visibility for that so we can see our frame, and let's also trim this down to the size of our clip down here. And then what we're going to do with the layer selected is click on your pen tool and start to create a mask around all your windows. So this rectangle, and this one. Okay, and once you've created your mats, you can turn that solid back on and check it out. Looks pretty good. And what we're going to do is go to our layer with Leo on it, go to Alpha Inverted Matte. Okay, so now we can see through these bad boys, and what we'll do is we can transition these guys in a couple of ways. So as you saw what I just did right there, you can bring your opacity down to 0%, and then you can keyframe it and then bring it up to 100, and that's how they'll reveal the bottom layer. The other thing you can do is use an effect called burn film. Drag that onto our white solid layer, and with this opacity up at 100, you would turn the burn film up to about, for me it's going to be 92, for you it could be a little different, and then you can keyframe that. So what we can do here is set a keyframe, drop it down a few frames to where he gets to the door a little before that, and bring this back down to 0. Okay, and then it's going to burn on like that. Okay, and let's put in a background layer so you guys can see what's going on. So I have this ocean clip that I'll have under everything that's going on, and then let's change the color of that so we can tell a difference between our clip. So I'll make that brown because that will be inside of our coffee soon. Okay, so you can kind of see that transition on there. So here's a simple burn film effect. You can also add a Luma Fade onto this, but we're going to save that one for our door right here. Okay, so now that we have that transition on, the next one we want to do is transition our ocean into this door area. So right about here we will transition the door. So we can trim these guys down, and we're going to duplicate our actor layer. So let's just rename this to actor for now, actor layer, and duplicate that. So Command D, and we have him on top right here. And what we're going to do is cut out the door. So by using the pen tool, let's create a rectangle around the door. Okay, so now we've separated our door layer from our windows and everything else. So let me fit this back in so we can see what's going on. And this one is going to, here, let's bring these guys back out. This one is going to have a Luma key or a Luma Fade effect to it. So what we're going to do is duplicate this layer again. Okay, and let me turn this track matte back to no track matte. And on this top layer, this is going to be our Luma matte. Okay, so let's name this actor and then Luma matte. And then what we're going to do is go to your effects controls, and we're going to drop in a couple effects. So the first one is a levels. So drop that one in there. And then on top of our levels, let's put an exposure effect. So put that one on top of our levels. And now what we want to do is crush the whites and the blacks. Okay, what we want to try to do is separate our actor from this blown out background. So just start to bring these inputs in together as we crush our whites and blacks. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I mean, you don't want to go too extreme with it, but yeah, that should be nice. Okay, now that we got our effects set in place, click on your second layer, the one under the Luma matte, and go to your track matte and bring it down to Luma inverted matte. Okay, now what we have to do is add another rectangle on our white solid layer. So it's basically going to be another matte for this bottom layer, and then once we have that, everything will show through. So let's use the pen tool and create our matte. Okay, cool. So once we have that in place, now we're going to go up to our Luma matte, our actor Luma matte layer, and then mess with the exposure, and this will be how we Luma fade on the effect. As you can see it kind of working there. So let's work with the keyframes and get this right. So drop it down to about negative 2.69, and so this is going to be a different number based off of your footage. The whole point of this one is you want to see everything here. So drop it down to that, and then what we'll do is keyframe as he takes a step out. So let's start the keyframing about here. So we're going to keyframe the exposure and bring our playhead forward a few frames till he jumps all the way out, and let's expand our layers all the way out till he gets down to about there. And then what we'll do is bring up the exposure until everything is eaten away like that. So now he's kind of jumping into this ocean and getting eaten away. Okay, cool. So that looks good. What we're going to need to do is make our composition a little bit longer. So go into your composition settings and let's make the duration 10 seconds long. Okay, so once he gets eaten by the ocean, jumps in there, now we want to Luma fade this whole section out. So what we're gonna do is let's pre-compose some of these layers together. So take your white solid, your actor layer, go to layer, pre-compose, just kind of tidy things up, and we'll call this our background layer. And then this top one, we can pre-compose these two guys as well, Luma Matte actor layer 2, and we'll call this our actor Leo. Okay, cool. So we've got that, and gonna need to extend these guys out all the way for now. And what we'll do is Luma Fade them. So I just showed you the advanced way of how to Luma Fade a transition. So, and that is by duplicating a layer, creating this Luma matte, making your track matte Luma inverted matte, and then doing your Luma Fade with an exposure keyframes, okay? And then the levels will help you determine the difference between brightness and darkness. So when you're doing your transitions, you can transition from bright to dark, or if you do your track matte on Luma matte, then it's the opposite. So that's how to do that advanced way. Now if you want to know how to do a quick Luma Fade, we're going to do that on this one. So on our background layer, we will add an effect called Luma Key and add that onto there. And now what we'll do is we'll go to where it says key type and choose key out brighter. So that should bring everything away, and then turn up your threshold until everything comes back. Okay, so this is now another way that you can do a Luma Fade. It's a little simpler because you don't have to do that exposure and other stuff, but I've noticed that when you do the exposure and levels, you get a cleaner cut on the edges, and I don't know, I like the transition of it a little better than doing the already pre-made Luma Key effect. So let's try this one out. Okay, so Leo jumps into the ocean, and then what we'll do is Luma Fade him out. So click on threshold and let's keyframe that, and press U to open up our keyframes. Just check that out, and we'll go 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 frames ahead and turn down our threshold until everything is gone. Zero. That should fade everything away. And then what we'll do is hit Alt or your Option key, Alt or Option, and then end bracket, and that will trim your composition down. We'll do that on the top one too, Alt and then the end bracket key, and so that'll trim those guys down so we know that they're done with. And now what we want to do is use this ocean like the inside of a coffee cup. So what we're going to do is let's kind of color it like a coffee. So go to tint, drag that on, and let's make it brown, and then make our whites a little bit orangish brown. That's good for now. We'll mess with the color in a little bit. What we're going to do is take our second clip that we shot, which is Leo taking a sip of the coffee that he just jumped in, and let me turn down the opacity for the ocean. So press T, bring it down to 50% or so, and let's see how we're going to do this zoom. So let's kind of match this up, and take your coffee clip, and let me just show you what this one's all about. I just shot a cup of coffee and kind of panned up to our actor Leo, and then he takes a sip. So fairly simple shot. Get kind of close up on that coffee because we're gonna do a zoom with it. So let's get into that. So we start off, everything fades out, and then our coffee. So let's we're gonna keyframe a few things here. So let's zoom in until the coffee fills the whole frame, and press P for position to move that in the center. Move our cup of coffee in the center, and S for scale, and zoom in a little bit more. Okay, cool. And then keyframe the scale, keyframe the position, and press U to open both of them up so we can see them. And then what we're going to do is zoom out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frames, and then position it back in. So this should be 50% because this is also a 4K clip, 960 by 540, which is the center. Then we're going to highlight both of these keyframes, right click and go to keyframe assistance, ease. Click on your graph editor and let's edit these keyframes. So we're going to zoom in by pressing the plus sign to see this a little better and create a curve like so. So what this curve is going to do is it's going to speed up really quickly and then slow down into an ease. So as it zooms out, it's going to zoom out fast and then ease in. And we want to do that with the scale because that was the position. So right here and here. So now we can see it zoom out fast and then ease into it. Okay? Alright, cool. We've got that. What we can do is keyframe the position and the scale for the ocean, or we can just connect it by parenting the ocean to our bottom coffee layer. So that way it will zoom down with it. Then all we have to do is scale up the ocean so it fills our coffee. So press S on the ocean, scale it up to 100. And good, that fits. And kind of move it in there till it looks about right. And what we're going to do is use the ellipse tool to create an ellipse around our coffee and then fix that mask. And then let's feather the mask. So open up the parameters, the mask 1 parameters, and go to the feather and type in 15 pixels. That looks good. And then what we're going to do is keyframe the mask path. And let's just double check it. And so anywhere there's a problem, you can fix the mask path on that zoom. Like that. Let's name this really quickly coffee clip. And with our coffee clip selected, I'm going to hold down the command button and click on the ocean. Hit my toggle switches in mode so I can see my motion blur and turn those on for both of those. And then turn it on for the composition. That way, when we do this zoom, it's going to give us that cool little motion blur effect, as if we're using a zoom lens and zooming really quickly. Okay, now that looks a lot better. And now all we have to do is keyframe the mask path. So hit M to see your mask path and just kind of go frame by frame by using the page down, page up buttons on your keyboard and move that mask path around. I would also open up the position and keyframe that as well. So I'll hit U so I can see both keyframes and then fit it in there. Alright, cool. So once you guys have keyframed out your mask path and your position, you can even keyframe your scale if you feel like it. What I would do is go to the kind of halfway through your clip, select it, hit T for opacity, and now we're going to keyframe that. So bring it back to 100%, and we're going to keyframe that. Press U to the end of our keyframes at about here, down to 0%, so it kind of fades out. And then we pan up to our coffee man. Boom. So let's preview this whole thing and see how it goes. Okay, cool guys, and that's basically it. That's how you do an advanced Luma Fade transition from one clip to a ocean shot to a coffee shot. You guys can come up with some other cool and creative way to jump from scene to scene, and there's a lot of possibilities on this one, as you can see. Alright guys, so I hope this last tutorial helped you out. Luma Fade transitions can be really cool in your videos, music videos, vlogging videos, whatever you guys end up doing. Using this effect can really spicing things up. If this helped you out at all, please crush that like button and leave us a comment. Let us know what visual effects you guys want to learn. If there are any techniques you need to know more about, or questions, or you just want to say what up, hit me up in the comments. Love to hear what you guys have to say. And with that being said, I'll see you on the next one.